Hello everyone once again, this is an alien hamster from Planet Hamsterton, again with another Bloodborne PvP video. This is a level 160 character. This is my first character ever that I ever used in Bloodborne. This is my OG, and I had a random invasion here in the DLC area before Ludwig. I don't know, this guy was trying to summon for Ludwig, I guess, but he preferred to fight me over just, going back in there and fighting Ludwig. I don't blame him. So yeah, you can see the damage values are not really that different from what you would see in level 60s to even 120s. So that's why I completely agreed back in the day when a YouTuber called Praise the Sun, he was advocating for, Bloodborne meta level to be 150 because his argument was that your defenses kept going up, so it would protect you more against ridiculous damaging top tier gems. Everyone was obsessed with top tier gems back in the day, and they still are, but people used to be really try hard about them. And then everyone said, no, we're not going to do that, and then we're going to do this Dark Souls style meta or whatever, even though this isn't Dark Souls, and then, the rest is history. Everyone blamed the game for not being Dark Souls, even though it was never advertised as Dark Souls. Just general community bullshit 101. So we're back here with Gwenheim at Yahar Ghul, and you can watch the footage while I bring today's topic, which has nothing to do with meta levels. It is invading and hosts. That is right. The topic that just never wants to die ever in this community. And for good reason. So let me tell you a story. For this particular video that you're watching right now, I didn't want to just put together footage that I had. No. I wanted to try something a little bit more fun. I wanted to do some very light stream sniping. I didn't want to go into a stream and just murder everyone. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want to go in there to get anyone's attention. I just wanted to look specifically for newer players and give them an experience. Just to do some silly shit, just to take some arcane build that I had that you'll see a little bit later in the video. Take that character and just beast roar them over and over, making them fall over or freak out or whatever. And then just leave their world. I had plans to do really silly, dumb stuff like that. But it became very apparent that it was not going to happen. And the reason for that is something that I've mentioned briefly before in some of my other videos. The hosts of any game, any of these games, see that trick? I made him gesture and I hit him with the numbing mist. Never fails, man. Those dirty tricks, love them. So it wasn't happening because the hosts, like I mentioned before, they have so much power. They decide when to engage you and when they won't. So the only reason you're even seeing any invasion videos in Bloodborne is because of the Bell Maiden. They haven't killed her. So that is my part of the topic that I want to cover today. The second most garbage system next to the Blood Gem system is the invasion system in Bloodborne. The Bell Maidens are garbage. And what does the story of the stream sniping have to do with that, you may be asking? Well, hosts get to have two butt buddies with them. And look, I don't blame hosts, especially if they're new players or if they're casual players. I don't blame them for having people in chat join them in the game. In fact, that's a very good idea if you're actually streaming. That's a very good idea. And I get that they have to maintain a schedule. They can't just go solo, and they just can't... You can't expect someone to follow the rules that you think they should follow. You know what I mean? But this is the perfect showcase as to why the Bell Maiden invasion system is so garbage. Because this is what they would do. They would have two co-opers. This is the shit that I saw, okay? I saw it on stream. They would have two co-opers. The one co-oper would show up. He would go and kill everything in the level, in the PvE. He would just kill everything. The second co-oper would show up, and he would run straight towards the Bell Maiden spawn point, and he would kill her. And that's it. And then the host would just literally walk to the boss, and they would gank the boss, and that's it. Next area. That's it. So not only is the host being robbed of a proper experience, but again, that's their choice. I just think it's highly disrespectful to the game, in any game, in all the Dark Souls as well. it's robbing them of their inexperience, but they robbed me of my time because I had to sit there on stream and watch them sometimes for like 30 plus minutes. That's one case. The other case I saw was this guy that he actually ran. Was the host. He ran towards where the Bell Maiden would spawn. He rang his bell to call his buddy. As soon as she spawned, he killed her. And I'm just sitting there like, well, shit, I guess I'm out of a job. Fuck me then. You know? It is just such a garbage system. It's kind of like what Gravelording used to be in Dark Souls 1, that it barely worked. But even Gravelording was like more fun than having to hope randomly that they didn't kill a Bell Maiden. You know? And just completely deny you of an entire mechanic of the game because they killed that one PvE enemy that you need in order to give you access to their world. It's ridiculous. So then there's this other streamer. I went to like six or 8 different streams, I swear. This was like a day or two ago. And I was just so pissed off. Not at them specifically, but just the mechanics of the game, man. This other streamer, I did manage to invade him. It was actually him and his girlfriend, I guess. They're both on stream. So I managed to invade him once, but I could not invade anyone else because they either went through the stages way too quickly or they just had people kill the Bell Maidens for them because they didn't want to deal with invaders. And that's where the power of the host comes in. They get to choose when to deal with you and when to stop dealing with you. They don't have to deal with you. The people that you see here right now and in any video, in any Bloodborne PvP video, any Dark Souls video also, because it's more or less the same. It's just that invaders can actually invade without needing a PvE enemy to be present, a specific PvE enemy to be present. They get to choose, they get to disconnect, they get to rush to the boss fog, and you know, this is actually the guy. This is the guy that I invaded. He had a dude with him. You see that they're just, he's like the co-opper is like an honorable dude. I'm not having any of it. At this point, I'm actually extremely pissed off. So I'm sort of going a little hard on them. Again, not because the streamer was pissing me off. It's because, you know, after all those attempts, I finally get one, you know. And the thing is, I actually saw this streamer later do the same thing that I've been describing. You know, the co-opers would come in, they would kill the Bell Maidens, and at least this guy actually tried whenever he did get invaded. More often than not, he preferred to gank people. But again, like, they're streaming, they have a schedule, they can't be on Bloodborne like 24/7. Obviously, they gotta move it. You know, they got other games to play. I'm just drinking lead elixirs. Then the co-opper was misinforming him in chat. He's like, oh, he drank a lot of lead elixirs. He drank a lot of poise potions, but there's only a couple of them in the game. And I'm here sitting with like 71 insight. And I'm like, dude, I can just buy them. What the hell are you talking about? There's only a couple of them in the game. You can buy the damn things. So at this point, I was just in a really bad mood. It was like late at night. And as soon as I got in here and I noticed that it was me, and I saw myself in the stream, and he was trying to parry me, by the way. That's why he's not really attacking. He was waiting for me to attack to get the parry. I saw his stats. He wasn't going to one-shot me. He was just going to not do anything. But yeah, I just killed him. At that point, I felt nothing. Because I was so angry. Just like, oh, man, I finally got one. And then I just, it was a relief that I at least got one clip, you know. But here comes the discussion of like, nobody likes invaders, you know, hosts are cowards and whatever. Peverson actually described it pretty well in saying that as an invader, expecting honor when you invade people, it's like you breaking into someone's house and they're with their friends and that they beat the crap out of you, and then you go like, fucking really, guys? You're not going to 1v1 me? You know, that's more or less what Peverson said. I saw one of his streams a while ago, and he was sort of explaining it to someone in chat. But that's not wrong. That is actually more or less what it is. That's why I'm saying there is no honor, because the host can do so many things to deny you of the very mechanic of invading. They don't have to deal with you. They don't have to deal with invasions. They don't have to choose to even participate in it. So you automatically, as an invader, you're being denied of an entire chunk of the game because they just don't want to deal with you, because they're either not good at the game, they don't really like PvP, and it's their right. I understand that. I'm not saying it's wrong. But what I am saying that on the flip side, on the other side, as an invader, especially in Bloodborne, if you didn't have your butt buddies kill the Bell Maiden for you, if they didn't kill the PvE for you so you can play a walking simulator and admire From Software's map design while you just stroll to the boss and let your buddies kill the boss for you, if I go in that world, I'm gonna try my hardest, try so hard, to just stop all of your progress. I'm gonna be the inconvenience. You know, I'm gonna be exactly as inconvenient as the PvE enemies are. Even worse, because I'm a human player. So I'm not just gonna walk forward like the PvE enemies do. You know, they're just cannon fodder most of the time. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna plan stuff. I'm gonna try to be a dirty player. I'm gonna trick you into gesturing. I'm gonna pretend to be honorable just to get that first hit on you. Why do I do that? Well, because as a host, you can disconnect, you can gank me, you can rush to the boss and look at the log. He's not dead, by the way. He actually quick rolled backwards and he actually threw himself off of the cliff. That log is like the MVP. Is like, it's just, it catches a lot of people off guard. They don't expect it to break off like that, and just because, you know, most people can see the trap, right? So they don't know how it works. But yeah, the host can disconnect, they can rush to the boss fog, they can gank you, they can just run away forever until someone comes in to help them or until you get bored. And most of them will run away and then they'll just rush into the boss. They'll mark out, or in the case of Dark Souls, they'll use a homeward bone, they'll leave and they'll do it all over again and wait for their friend to help them. So they get to choose when to engage you and when not to engage you. So when I finally do get into the world, because then as an invader, you're fighting the game mechanics before you're even into someone's world, especially in Bloodborne. That's why it's so garbage, because you need to have that Bell Maiden in there before the game even puts any host into your invasion priority list. And not only that, but in Dark Souls 3, what pissed people off so much, especially invaders, was the fact that there were so many gankers. And the reason for that is because the system changed. It sort of prioritized people with friends, sort of like Bloodborne does. You know, and that's the main complaint. Granted, I don't mind it in Bloodborne because I do want to have a 2v1. That's the fun part. I don't want to have duels, you know. But that's just part of the reason that the Bell Maiden system is so garbage, because you have to fight the actual game mechanics before you go in and fight people. And look at this pro throwing me Call Beyond from the other side of the room. This was actually a very good fight. This was in the Research Hall DLC area. You see me there using the blunderbuss as a staggering tool instead of a parry tool. I highly recommend you do that, seriously. It's very good to catch a break, to get a heal. But anyway, as an invader, you're fighting the system before you're even fighting a host and his buddies. And then you have to deal with whatever it is they want to do. So after all that, after waiting, after finally finding someone that has a Bell Maiden that's alive, you have to deal with the fact that, hey, maybe they're just going to run away. Maybe when you invade, they're already next to the boss fog door. They're already entering the fog as you enter their world, so you're not going to invade them anyway. Even if you do, what's the classic? What's the classic? There's a guy, 2 summons, you kill his 2 summons, and then the host runs away, and he goes to the boss, and he kicks you out of the world. That's the classic. That is the classic. Everyone has gone through that at one point or another. This guy just so happens that he decided to fight me because he had really good damage on his Chikage. So I guess he figured, well, whatever, I do pretty good damage against this guy, I'm just going to try it. You know? And he was trying to actually sneak attack me when I got up the elevator with his buddy on the other side of the room. But I just got his buddy, you know, out of the way before I dealt with the host. But if this guy wanted to, because this is how much power he has as a host, if he wanted to, he could just run away, disconnect, go to the boss, run away and wait for his buddy again. Which, by the way, his buddy's probably going to come back with full blood vials and full Quicksilver bullets. You know? The same thing for Dark Souls. You know, people come in, they come in with full assist once again, with their full mana, full magic, everything. So the host has a bunch of power, and on top of that, you got to deal with the game system. And I'm talking specifically about Bloodborne, but it also happens with Dark Souls. You need to fight the game's mechanics and systems before you even enter someone's world. And that's not even counting whether or not the host has two other people that are tryhards with like 27% gems and they just two-shot you with their phantom range Rakuyos or something like that. So there's so many things against an invader. So people often complain about, oh, invaders are they're just a bunch of fucking assholes. They just want to ruin your game. Yeah, they do. You know why? Because before they even get into your world, they have to deal with the fucking game. And they have to deal with the fact that you, as a host, because you're so pissy about it, you may even disconnect. So you're denying them of an entire chunk of the game. All because people grew to not want to see that you died screen. I remember when dying in these games was not a big deal at all. The only time it was a big deal and the only times that it was annoying was when someone used some really dumb one-shot or cheap, cheesy build, or even if they broke all your equipment, you know, like the Scraping Spear, Demon Souls. That was the only time people had like a legitimate right to be like, man, this is bullshit. The rest of the time, honestly, what makes me in Bloodborne so different from an invader or an NPC hunter, as an NPC hunter, because NPC hunters, they're kind of ridiculous. You know? I don't do 200 plus damage with one single blunderbuss shot like a lot of NPCs in this game do. I don't do that. You can't do that. They can. They straight up cheat. I'm just an invader and I have less health. And I have to stack runes. You have to go and get the 15% rune, the 15% HP boosting rune from Zuli the Witch's Chalice Dungeons. And that's only a recent thing, because back in the day, you had to actually go to the proper glyph and do all the Chalice Dungeons to go get it and everything. The same thing for any other rune that you wanted. So, you know, it's like everything is so against the invader. And it's not to say that we're victims. It's not to say that, oh, we have it so much more difficult than everyone else. It's not that. It's the perfect thing to explain to you as to why it is that so many invaders play dirty. So many invaders, even if they're not aware of the fact that they have to fight the system before they even fight a host or his buddies, it's that pent-up anger because you have to deal with so many variables at the same time. If you're a host, you're cool. What's the worst that happens to a host? They get killed. They gotta go get their echoes or their souls. But they're gonna do it, but they're not gonna do it alone. They're gonna call for backup again. They can just keep doing that. You know? And the same thing goes for the invader. If an invader gets killed, well, you know, in the case of Dark Souls 3, they decided to give you a fuck you, and it's like, you gotta go all the way to where you died to get your souls. Other than that, you never really lost anything. So, you know, there's no consequences really to dying. It's just people are so obsessed with not dying in these games. They treat it like a disease almost. And it's like people go out of the way to deny game mechanics to other people just because they don't want to die in a game that, you know you're going to die. It's ridiculous. So the host is always going to have that much power, and an invader is at the mercy of what they do after you enter their world. You know, you just have to deal with it. And every fight that you get, you gotta appreciate it, because that fight is a fight that the only reason the fight even probably happened was because the host didn't want to look like a bitch, because he didn't want to disconnect, because he knows that you're gonna laugh at him in real life. And a lot of fights happen just because of that, because a lot of people don't want to deal with it. And it begs the question as to why they don't just play offline. They can summon NPC summons because they have friends. That's the whole reason, because they have friends and they want to play with friends. And even when they have their friends with them, they don't want to deal with you. Which is, again, where we go full circle, and I mention again those streamers, that they had those co-opers that knew what they were doing, and they go and they just kill the Bell Maiden, because that means they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to deal with me going into their world. They don't have to deal with me doing some gimmick to them, or throwing them off a cliff with Beast Roar, or just stunning them with a fucking blunderbuss forever because I'm being an asshole for no reason. And, you know, it's just, they get to choose whether or not you stay. Did you see that R2, by the way? And this is a topic that's never going to die. I'm not trying to convince anyone here. I'm not putting any argument. I'm just sharing my thoughts on what I truly believe is one of the most garbage mechanics in the game. It's the second most garbage mechanic in Bloodborne. In fact, those two mechanics are the only garbage parts of Bloodborne that I absolutely hate. You know, the gem system and the Bell Maiden invasion system. Those are the two most garbage, because everything else about the game I absolutely adore. I love it. I love the weapons, the movesets, the stats, the PvE, the lore. Oh my god, the lore. Amazing. You know, the music, the atmosphere, the colors, everything. Everything, the models, the design in general, absolutely everything for me, in my opinion, is absolutely stunning. But when it comes to actual gameplay mechanics, those two that I keep mentioning, they just shit the bed. They're not good at all. You know? So it's really difficult to keep patient, because, you know, when I invaded that streamer, I was fed up with it, because I had experienced so much of it, because I was reminded of it, because I've been having a steady stream of invasions, and people don't quit out on me. They don't leave. They don't. Obviously, I entered their world, so they have the Bell Maiden alive, because they don't know where she is. But it really put into perspective, you know. If they knew where she was, they would hunt her down first before even attempting to go through the level, just to not deal with invaders. That's really disheartening, you know, because it means that even though I had this idea that I wanted to be a part of someone streaming it, you know, I wanted to be part of their experience, not to murder them, you know, not to do anything bad, not to grief them, just to sort of teach them some stuff, maybe, you know, maybe hit them a little bit with an unupgraded weapon, and then just sort of randomly leave or something, and they just sort of look at their reaction, and you know, just give them that experience. I was robbed of that. You know what I mean? And you know, you could say, well, boo-hoo, you know, people can do whatever they want, and you're not wrong. They can do whatever they want. That's true. But that's not my point. My point is that the system is complete garbage, and the fact that I had this experience where I tried to invade specific people, but they were not allowing me to, because of co-opers mostly, or people telling them that they needed to kill the Bell Maiden first. You know, it ruins their experience, I think, and maybe they don't mind it, but if I get into their world, by God, I am going to remind them to do things, you know, differently. They got co-opers, I'm going to make sure that I get rid of them. In fact, I wanted to get into a couple streams just to get rid of the co-opers, and then I would leave the world. I would leave the host alive. I would just let him go by himself. But again, not to grief, not to just, you know, put myself on stream or anything. I didn't even participate in chat, for God's sake, you know. But it was a very good eye-opener. It was a very good reminder for that mechanic that we often don't think about. And it's just that Bell Maiden system, man, it infuriates me to no end. Oof, sorry for that long rant. The next video will be a little bit more upbeat, I promise. So join me next time where the witches of Hemwick will share with us their favorite recipes for blood cake. It could be tasty or it could be weird. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.